I am not going to sugarcoat things for you. That's not why you all come to the Danielle Moody Show. We are inside of a fucking shitstorm that shows no sign of ending. We are in, as Sylvia Plath said, the fucking bell jar. We are in the eighth circle of hell. Because my God, folks, I have been on air now for about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours, and I feel fucking insane. And that's the point. To normalize pedophilia, to normalize rape, to normalize brutality. Because you know what? It has been the foundation of America since America's founding. And each and every single generation has made excuses. They have told us, well, in the empires, well, that's what they did back then. They didn't know any better. They told us, well, it was slavery and that's what the slaveholders did, and so on and so forth. Oh, well, this person, there's an age gap of 20, 30, 40 years, but that's just Hollywood. This type of heinous, disgusting behavior has been going on. Me Too pulled back a veil for just a hot moment before the powers that be shut it down. The same way that we got a brief period in these United States following the Civil War to say, oh, Black people are human beings and not just cogs in a machine, not just parts to be broken or broken in or broken down. And now the things that they did to Black people, to Black babies for centuries in this God-forsaken country, you're now finding out that they've been doing it. It was just okay when it was happening to Black people. It was excuses that you can make for the age and the time. And I just want to bring to your attention that in some place far off into the future, it'll be the year 2080. And they'll be saying, well, they didn't know any better. It was the 1900s. It was 1996 when Jeffrey Epstein first came onto the scene. Oh, they didn't know any better. And that's what they do. The cycle, the patterns that we are seeing right now, they repeat themselves because we tell ourselves stories about these monsters that make it easier for us to sleep at night. And what I'm telling you is, no one should be getting any fucking sleep at all. It's time to wake the fuck up and stay woke. Welcome to the Danielle Moody Show, dear friends. Let's get into it. Hello, damnation. I am so happy that you all are here. If you've been following me all day, I have chatted with Jared Yates Sexton at 12 p.m. That video is up now on the Damn Digest. I just got off with Wajahat for a midweek check-in, also on the Damn Digest. That video is not up yet because guess what? I had to come here to put on this live show. And I got to tell you, that initially I wasn't even going to put on any slides today because I am just so outdone. Like, I'm just so outdone by the lack of urgency, the lack of care about the information that just came to light. First and foremost, folks, the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Howard Lutnick, Bill Gates, Deepak Chopra, and others have been speaking out across administrations. Except we don't believe women and girls when they talk to us about violence and assault. We don't believe them. And so we have waited for the files, for the information that would legitimize what it was that they told us about this fucking syndicate of rapists and murderers and cannibalists. And now, even still, with the 3 million documents and the 38,000 mentions of Donald Trump, we're still sitting around saying, oh, well, it can't possibly be true. They can't possibly be eating children. They can't possibly have disappeared children. I want you to open your eyes, your ears, and recognize that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, they were behind the QAnon conspiracy theories. They were behind spreading all of what was now projection so that they could continue to operate in broad daylight. You see, they knew that they could create a rabid base, that QAnon and Reddit threads and all of these different spaces and in the dark web, that they could use 4chan and others to put out these conspiracy theories to make it seem as if it was just the Democrats, right? That things that were so outlandish, that were part of their rituals and behavior. And those that try to sound an alarm, well, they're not with us anymore. They've magically disappeared or committed suicide. And we called those people that were trying to connect some sort of dots. We said that they are tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists because in our hearts and our spirits, we could not allow ourselves to believe that the wealthy and the powerful were operating on an entirely different plane than the rest of us. We still like to kid ourselves and believe, well, oh, Larry Ellison and his family have taken over TikTok, but TikTok is tanking. That was the point. These people no longer make their money off of whether a business does well. They have padded themselves, they have insulated themselves with policies that the rest of us don't have access to. They can file for bankruptcy, clear their credit, and continue on. They use money as power and leverage to dominate the rest of us. Stop thinking about the TikToks and the CBSs and these spaces and what just happened with the Washington Post as if these people are bad at business. They're not in the business of making money. They're in the business of domination. They see themselves as the new crusaders, forging a path for the ultra wealthy, connected, and depraved. We are an obstacle to their domination, to their takeover. And for those that have tried to raise a flag or an alarm, they've obviously either been dismissed, discredited, or disposed of. You have to ask yourself, how is it that the current sitting president of the United States is mentioned 38,000 times in these documents and it isn't front page news? How is it that Joe Biden could fall off of a bike and in the news cycle for at least 2 weeks, you're talking about his physical and mental acuity and capability? Donald Trump, as some have said, whether jokingly or real, that Donald Trump is mentioned more times in this drop of the Epstein files than Jesus Christ is in the Bible. And yet, we're all supposed to just look the other way. Because as Waj says, as he quotes the late great comedian. And comedian is a stretch because this man was just a moral storyteller. It's a big old club, and we ain't in it. So I want to time travel with me, won't you? To this very resonant stand-up bit that George Carlin did, that we are all quoting now as we are recognizing that this giant club isn't just a club of the powerful. It's not just a club of the wealthy. These are some of the types of monsters that have you sleep with one eye open. These are the types of monsters that not even Hollywood productions could conjure. So take a listen, because I think it's important that we all get on the same page.
The politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Man. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on.
That's what the owners count on. That nobody seems to notice and nobody seems to care. Because the thing that I've been saying is that we have been morally bargaining, right? Every single time that something is presented to us over the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we make a bargain. We make a bargain to sacrifice whatever group we're not in. So if they're coming for Black people, well, I'm not Black. I don't really have to give a shit. I don't have to give a shit that they're rigging elections or suppressing the vote. I'm white, so I can still vote. I don't give a shit that they're going after abortion. I'm not going to have an abortion. Or I'm a man. I don't really give a shit. Oh, they're coming for the undocumented. Well, I'm not undocumented, so I'm not going to stand up. I don't really give a shit. They're criminals anyway. Every single thing that we have allowed to happen in this country has led us to this place. Because I want folks to take responsibility and accountability for how we got here. Because it isn't as if Donald Trump just poof came out of nowhere. It isn't as if MAGA just poof came out of nowhere. This is cyclical. This is pattern behavior, folks. This is the moral bargaining that each and every single generation has done, that has allowed different groups at different times to be sacrificed so that you could continue to bury your heads in the sand and not give a fuck, to have the privilege and audacity to say that politics isn't something that you care about. And so now that they have perfected their depravity, they have perfected their violence, and now they have the technology and the tools and the ultra wealth to do what they have done to each and every marginalized group, now to do to the whole. Folks are outdone. Oh my God, this isn't the country that I know. Oh my God. How did these other people let this happen? Everyone let this happen. Every generation let it happen. Every generation ate up the indoctrination and the stories that told you that, oh, Thomas Jefferson, a genius. He's our founding father. He's also a rapist and a fucking slaveholder. Oh, George Washington, he was the first president and the one that set in term limits, and how amazing. He also was a slaveholder that used the body parts of the enslaved to enhance his own looks. These are the people who we hold up and we've made marble statues and roads to, that traded women as property. Do you know what women are celebrating right now? At 51 years, the ability to get a credit card and a mortgage without your father or your husband's signature and permission. That law is only 51 years old. So, is it so far-fetched to believe that the rich and the powerful would put little girls and boys on platters and serve them up to each other? Is that shocking to you? Because it shouldn't be. This country was built on rape. This country was built on pedophilia. This country told itself stories about Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings that were a lie, because it was the only way for you to stomach what you began to know is true. I look at the stories, folks, of the late great Elvis and Priscilla Presley. Do you know how far apart in fucking age that they were? But it was sold to us and packaged through Hollywood as this wonderful romance story, so much so that we have watched generation after generation of predators be allowed to marry and do whatever they would like with young girls because, oh, it's Hollywood. You think Harry Weinstein and R. Kelly and Bill Cosby are what? They're the norm. They've been the norm. And so when you think to yourself, how could this happen? Oh my God, I'm so disgusted. Folks, I'm starting to like go back to my own childhood of things that were normalized that should have never been normalized. Relationships and connections that I'm making that I'm just like, wait, what? And then how we wipe it away, how we swallow it is by telling ourselves that, oh, well, that was just the times. It was different times. It's always different times, and it's always the same abuse. And so you wonder why. How come these men are never caught? How come they're allowed to just continue on? Because everyone is in on it. Because it's a big club and you ain't in it. Right now, they are literally sitting up on all of these platforms that they have gobbled up, that they have bought to control what you see and what you think. They are controlling the story. And while we run off and follow the red bouncing ball over here and over there and over there, and cryptocurrency and media takeover and this and that and the other thing, you fail to see that it's all connected. It's a big club and we ain't in it. It's the club that allowed for the sale of TikTok. TikTok signs deal to give US operations to Oracle. We talked about this last year as it was happening. And why was TikTok needing to be sold? Oh, because the government sold us a lie about China having our data and information. This had nothing to do with China. It had everything to do with shutting down anti Israel protests and also being able to data mine who was against the Trump administration. Even Hillary Clinton herself said, oh, TikTok, it's tainting the children. They're being radicalized with regard to Israel because, oh, you mean because they're watching a genocide stream on their fucking phones? And instead of being lied to by corporate media that has long since sold out to these entities, that instead they were seeing firsthand on the ground what was happening in Gaza? So we had to wrap that up real quick. TikTok has signed a deal to spin off to U.S. operations to a group controlled by mostly American investors. This giant cabal called Oracle, a company run by who? Trump ally Larry Ellison. And what did David Ellison, Larry Ellison's son, do, who runs Paramount? What did he buy up? Oh, he bought up CBS. So what is happening since the TikTok sale? TikTok is now censoring at the behest of the US government. The app is still functionally banned. That was back January 21st, 2025. But I will tell you what is happening aside from tons of TikTok creators leaving the app. Well, people are being forcibly removed. If you were an independent reporter and you were covering the genocide in Gaza, then guess what? Your whole account was put down and you're effectively banned. If you had commented negatively on Charlie Kirk, on Israel, on Donald Trump, guess what? Banned. And then people want to say, well, oh my God, well, he's going to lose a lot of money. This was never about money. You got to think about money in terms of power and control, because they've already created the policies that protect them from losing any money. They don't lose any money. It's a circle jerk that happens with these groups. Then you look at CBS, bought by David Ellison, gutted. You look at today, what happened. The Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, cuts 1/3 of their staff. About 300 of 800 newsroom employees were fired. They want to tell you that it's driven by $100 million of loss. But what's funny is the owner is worth $200 billion. Easy. It's not about making money. You think Jeff Bezos makes money with the Washington Post? It's not about the losses. It's about control, controlling the narrative, controlling what you see, what you think, how you act. So the Washington Post will continue on, powered by AI, powered by the right wing. This legacy foundation, bedrock of our media, is gone. CBS, gone. TikTok, gone. CNN, MS Now, bent the knee. Why? Because it's a big old club and you ain't in it. What did we discover about the longevity expert, Peter Attia? Oh, well, he's in the Epstein files, trying to convince Jeffrey Epstein to invest in his longevity work so that he can live longer and rape more girls. Because as was discovered in his disgusting exchanges is that, the P is low calorie. So he's gone, and his forthcoming 60 Minutes interview has been pulled. But guess what? I thought that they fired him. No, they didn't. He's still there. Why? Because Barry Weiss. Why? Because Ellison. So maybe they'll just, not have him out in front, but he still has a job. And then I played this yesterday, but it is worth playing again today because I want you to think about the ways in which this regime and their bought media is now trying to mainstream pedophilia and rape. I want you to look at the Deputy Attorney General's body language as well as what it is that he's saying in this interview with Laura Ingraham. I want you to just allow it to kind of wash over you for a moment, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Some of the people we saw on camera at the rallies. Is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in relations with minors will be prosecuted?
Well,
Any
look,
chance?
I'll never say no, and we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein, and so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things, and if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand that. It isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right. And unfortunately, photos can't speak. And so we need witnesses and we need
Are there
evidence
videotapes that you all have? Or?
Unfortunately, photos can't speak. So now photographic evidence isn't enough. Oh, we need witnesses. Oh, there are a bevy of witnesses. You just don't care to reread, listen to any depositions that they gave. Some, right, that were under oath, like the one that I showed you all yesterday, where Tiffany Doe, last name changed, first name changed, said that she saw with her own eyes Donald Trump rape a 13-year-old girl and then threaten her and her family and say, you can be disappeared like the 12-year-old blank name redacted. That was under oath, meaning that if you had lied, you could face criminal perjury charges and a hefty fine. And also, if the people who you are telling on have told you that they can disappear you and your family, you're also risking death. So explain to me who is going to risk their lives except for somebody who is trying to ring an alarm. So Todd Blanche sat there and said, well, I mean, if we, partying, even the fucking language of partying, being in rooms where children are bound and tortured and raped and allegedly killed, that's partying to you? That's something that, we should just brush off? Well, Representative Lou, he's not brushing it off. Yesterday, well, I'll play the clip so that you can hear him in his own words. His reaction to what Todd Blanche said to Laura Ingraham.
Those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage the press to go look at these allegations, and I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, of the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now, who were girls at the time, who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the Department of Justice.
For so long, the normalization of this type of violence against children has been being normalized. Red state governors rolling back child protection laws over the last 10 years, lowering the age of consent in these states. Why do you think that is? You have people like Megyn Kelly referring to children as just, quote, the barely legal type. Barely legal means illegal. But I want you to understand too that there are plenty of women like the Megyn Kellys of the world, the Ghislaine Maxwells of the world, that go to great lengths to protect these men, who at one point or another also groomed them to do their bidding, to bring their own daughters and nieces and girls into the fray. These are sick fucking people that we are dealing with. They are sick fucking people that have operated under the guise, as Bill Gates did, of philanthropy. Bill Gates' philanthropy was the biggest mask of them all. At least Elon Musk doesn't pretend to be a good human being. He's a piece of shit, and he'll say he's a piece of shit. He'll give his Heil Hitler. He'll talk about trans people. He'll talk about the good old days of South African apartheid. He'll talk about white superiority. So there's no mistaking, but it didn't stop his shareholders and investors in putting together $1 trillion package for him because he's a genius. Bill Gates was having, and not even saying having sex. Bill Gates was raping Russian girls and contracting STDs. His wife, his ex-wife, all but told us in 2 interviews, one that she did yesterday, when she was asked, how do you feel about what has come out? She said, I feel sad, but it's why I'm no longer married. It's why I'm no longer a part of the foundation. That motherfucker tried to slip her antibiotics because he had gotten a bunch of STDs and he was still married, laying in bed with his wife. She told us. They all told us. But for the sake of institution, for the sake of systems, these predators, these monsters have not only been allowed to exist among us, they've been put up to us as deities to be worshiped. So what does that say about us? About how easily we are bought, how easily we throw around titles like genius and brilliant and saviors because they have wealth, because they have power, because at the end of the day, I'm telling you that there are more motherfuckers than not that wish they had the power to do whatever it is that they want, which is what these men have done. Because there is no law that they are actually bound to. Do you remember the decision? I want to say that is it the Dred Scott decision? Bear with me for a moment. Bear with me for one moment. Because I believe that it was. The landmark decision that did not extend American citizenship to people of African descent. This was Dred Scott v. Sanford. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it set the tone and the foundation that Black people were not people included in this country's constitution. And then as you would move forward with the decision of Plessy v. Ferguson and others, it would say that there is no law extended to a Black man that a white man must follow. And you're saying to yourself, Danielle, where are you going with this? Where I'm going with this is how you create the foundations for hierarchies of power and dominance to a point where you now have these powerful oligarchs that don't have to abide by the rules that the rest of us do. You see, there are no laws that they have to abide by because they have bought their Supreme Court justices, they have bought their presidents, they have bought their ability to do whatever the fuck they want, wherever, however, with whomever. So when you can bend laws, break them, ignore them to harm one group, this is the shit that Black people have been saying for centuries. That when you can tolerate the dehumanization and the breakdown of a judicial system based around race and ethnicity, then understand that eventually it will come for everyone. It took 250 years for it to begin to come for white folks, but it's here now. Because you see now, white mothers are getting shot in the head and white men are being executed on the street. Because there was a moral bargaining that was happening over the course of this 250-year project that said some people get to follow the rules and other people's don't. Some people must abide and other people don't. Some people's lives matter and other people's lives don't. The foundation, folks, was laid from the very beginning because white Americans were able to detach themselves from the humanity and lived experiences of Black people. They allowed the militarizing of police. They allowed the gutting of institutions, all so that they could be breaking off a little bit, stay inside this middle class illusion, this bubble that was fed to you. They gave you the crumbs, but told you that you are better than those motherfuckers over there. And we're going to continue to pass laws and policies that keep you here and keep them down here. Until those very same sons of bitches, those very same descendants of slaveholders now look at you and they don't need you anymore. You are disposable. You are dispensable. They don't need to appease you. When Donald Trump told MAGA in 2024, just vote this last time, you don't need to vote again, he told you the plot. I don't need your vote. I don't need your fucking approval anymore. Who are you? I needed you but for so long. And now I'm going to do to you what I've been doing to them, but you applauded that. because you never thought that it was going to come for you. This is how we got here. The bargaining. So, folks, when you look at this and you see all the ways that Donald Trump is linked to this, all the way that Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, Howard Lutnick, Larry Summers, the men that are involved in the Epstein file reads like a who's who of the captains of industry that have created the mechanisms and the systems to protect each other so that they could continue to rape, to discard, to torture, because they could, because they can. Someone posted and said the craziest thing about the Epstein files is the fact that nothing is going to happen to anyone. And that, I believe, is the truth. You see, the UK has opened up an investigation into one of their politicians that was named. You see that Poland has opened up an investigation today into their syndicate of sex traffickers. France just raided Elon Musk's Twitter office because of the release of AI-generated sexually explicit content that features children. So everyone else, except for the United States, is taking action on this. Our Deputy Attorney General says, though, emails and parties, that's not criminal. Everyone else seems to think so, though. So my plea to you, to your friends, to your people, don't let this be normalized. Do not allow this literally satanic, heinous behavior to be normalized. Do not shrug this off. Do not let them turn the page on this and distract you with other things. You know, Donald Trump just put boots on the ground in Nigeria because gotta distract. So we gotta bomb Black people, a sovereign Black nation, under the guise of terrorism when you really need their resources to further your AI initiatives so that you can replace the rest of us. They're on a quest, folks. And the only thing stopping them is shutting this entire fucking shit down. That's it. There is no more bargaining to do. There is no more, let's wait 9 months until midterm elections that they are outright telling you that they are going to steal. They raided the election office. Donald Trump is on air telling folks, Republicans, nationalize these elections. You don't need to have state rights. Give it all to me. I'll make sure you stay in power until, guess what? He doesn't need them anymore either. Arresting journalists, killing American citizens. We are in it. We can barely breathe. We are choking on the criminality. And just for folks that are just like, oh, Danielle, well, you know, I don't know. It just seems so outrageous. I don't know. I want you to take a listen. I messed up his name earlier today. To Senator Wyden. And again, this was over the summer. I want you to take a listen to what Senator Wyden was saying back in July and October of last year. Hold, please, 1 second.
Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and elsewhere.
And elsewhere. 4,725 transactions amounting to $1.1 billion. From who? From where? Why haven't we been following the money? That's the easiest thing to do. And I want to tell you this, and I said this earlier, and people got upset with me, and I'm literally telling you this right now, my opinion. My opinion. Why do you think cryptocurrency was created? What do you think this kind of black market business dealing that is not regulated, but there are billions of dollars flowing through it? What do you think that it was created for? What about the people that Donald Trump recently pardoned? CZ and the sheiks in Saudi Arabia who bought into Donald Trump's Liberty crypto business. It was a way for them to buy and sell human beings without it being tracked. That is my opinion. Cryptocurrency is a money laundering fucking scheme. But you ask yourself, is it just money that they are laundering? No, it is not. Because the people that Donald Trump has pardoned that have their hands inside of crypto are also caught up in arms dealing. They're also caught up in drug smuggling. They're also caught up in sex trafficking. Donald Trump and his family went into crypto because it was easier to do that so that, I mean, it's not as if anybody is going to actually ever hold Donald Trump accountable for anything. And frankly, the Supreme Court gave him immunity, knowing everything that they knew. So we know that that man is never going to see the inside of any prison, and he'll probably live to be 100 years old. But cryptocurrency, and the reason why Donald Trump deregulated it or hasn't put any regulations on it, is for what it is being used for. Donald Trump has made himself over $1 billion last year. We just learned that the Saudis invested $500 million in his crypto scheme. Because it's a big club and we ain't in it. Power protects power. Money protects money. All of it, folks. All of it. We can't all be tin hat conspiracy theorists, not when the facts are just sitting right in front of us. You see, there are some people that are interested in the crypto part of this and other people that are interested in, the stolen documents that Donald Trump was also selling, according to Jack Smith. All of this is about power, domination, control. We now, as human beings, because they don't see us as people. And again, where did that all start from? It always comes back to slavery. These are the descendants of those slaveholders and the original traffickers. They convinced themselves that Black people were not human so that they could do anything and everything to my ancestors. And now they are looking at everybody the same way that the slaveholders looked at their property. We are a means to an end. And right now, we have become too expensive and too troublesome for them. So they are investing in this race of AI to replace us. They are investing in the building of private prisons, not to house the undocumented, my friends, to house those that won't comply. I will end on this. What happens when all the jobs go away? Washington Post lays off 800, Amazon lays off 16,000, UPS lays off tens of thousands, Microsoft, Google, Meta. What happens? They're not talking about universal basic income. They're talking about building prisons. Because that's their plan for you all. That's their plan for us. Because what happens when you create the conditions of misery? When you actually are benefiting off of it. They profit off of our sickness. They profit off, right, of our ill health and our joblessness. They make money off of it. So folks, wake up. All of those things that those clapping seals were clapping at those MAGA rallies, it's all coming for them. They're just too stupid to fucking realize it. Because you see, when you run out of the Blacks and the Browns and the trans and the immigrants and the undocumented and the this and the that, all that's left is staring you in the mirror. And they're insatiable. So they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop until they're stopped. That's it. We don't have 9 months. We need a national strike now. That is it for me today, dear friends, on the Danielle Moody Show. I appreciate every single person that showed up today and every day. And before I get out of here, I want to thank the super stickers and super thanks. As I say, dear friends, this show is people powered. Check. Make sure that you are actually subscribed to this channel. So many people think that they are subscribed and they are not. So subscribe. I keep all of my content free. I keep it free for a reason, because paywalls is where critical thinking goes to die. So if you don't have the resources to be able to support me monetarily, all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe and share. Share this show, share this episode, share this channel with your friends, your family, your colleagues, etc. But for those that do have the ability to give, please think about becoming a paid subscriber to my YouTube channel or becoming a paid subscriber to my Substack. But know that if you cannot, the content remains free. So, folks, thank you to Susan, our fantastic moderator, for gifting a subscription to the Danielle Moody channel. Thank you, JJ, for $5. Ernst, as always, thank you for the $10. Eternal Energy, always giving me house songs. All right. $4.99. Appreciate you. Rebecca, thank you so much. And I'm glad that you're a proud member of Damnation. Thank you for the $20. Phoebe, as always, thank you. Independent journalism is our last defense. Thank you so much for your generous donation of $50. Eternal Energy, again, another great song. Junior Vasquez, one of my favorites. Thank you for the $4.99. Beans, thank you so much for the $5. Mr. Will, thank you so much for the $2. Susan, thank you so much for the $10. E. Schwartz, as always, thank you for the $3. Crazy Legs, thank you so much for the generous donation of $100. I appreciate you so, so much. Easy Reader, thank you for the $5. Sherry, thank you so much for the $5. And yes, Sherry is the one that was just like, Danielle, it's Wednesday. You come back tomorrow on Thursday. Yes, I will be back tomorrow on Thursday. Mr. Will, again, thank you for $5. Real Talk, thank you for the $5. Wendy, thank you for the Canadian $27.99. Thank you for being a part of Damnation. Henry, as always, thank you for the $20. Sing 48, thank you for gifting $1. Thank you for gifting a membership to the Danielle Moody channel. And Megan, thank you so much for your generous $49.99. Folks, I could not, and I would not want to do this without all of you. You have no idea. There are days like today where I was exhausted and my spirit was heavy and I did not want to turn on this microphone. But I believe that I have a responsibility to all of you and to this community to keep going. And that's exactly what you allow me to do. So I appreciate you and I am grateful for each and every single one of you. It's Wednesday, so I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. So do tune in. As always, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, my friends, do stay safe. I will see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well, take care of yourselves and each other. Appreciate you, appreciate you, appreciate you.